Batman vs Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the most ambitious crossover since the last ambitious crossover. Been seeing that a lot lately. So I've been anticipating this movie since it was announced, and I gotta admit, I didn't really expect them to do something like this. I think a lot of people didn't really expect something like this to happen, but I think most people aren't aware that this has already happened before in the comics. There was actually a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Batman crossover comic from IDW, and it's awesome. I guess it's not that unusual either, because the Turtles have interacted with the DC Universe quite a few times. I already mentioned the comics crossovers, but they also are playable characters in the Injustice 2 video game. And it gets even crazier because there are other crossovers as well, like this one. This is actually a crossover between Batman the Animated Series and the 2012 Nickelodeon Ninja Turtles. And this is also really cool. And what's really cool is that there's a lot of things in the comic that are in the movie. Like there's a lot of lines said, there's a lot of scenes that have been recreated. Though the comic is actually very different, because in the comic, the Turtles actually travel to the DC Universe through a portal. But in the movie, I guess this is supposed to be some weird alternate version of the DC Universe, because the Turtles just exist here. And that's about it. So like I said before, this is some sort of alternate reality. And they actually went out of their way to establish that Batman and Ninja Turtles in this movie are not the same Batman or Ninja Turtles from anything else. This is a completely new Batman. This is a completely new team of Turtles. Although you can tell that they are kind of built from previously existing versions. Like Batman is, you know, a bit dark and brooding. There's a lot definitely borrowed from Batman the Animated Series, but the costume is different, the team is different, and the Turtles seem to have their character designs and personalities based off the 2012 Nickelodeon Ninja Turtles. Although, I can definitely see a little bit of the 2003 Ninja Turtles in them, what with their blank eyes and their sort of angular design. The voice acting in this was great. Everyone did a really good job. And there's not really a lot of recurring voice roles in this. There was Tom Kenny, who was the voice of the Penguin, who voiced the Penguin in The Batman, the animated series The Batman. And, of course, he had Harley Quinn show up for a little while and voiced by Tara Strong, which I think at this point is a given. But I want to note one in particular, and that's Troy Baker, who plays double duty as the voice of both Batman and the Joker. And he does a fantastic job. Like, a lot of people were saying that they could barely tell the difference between him and Kevin Conroy. And when he played the Joker, you can tell he was definitely channeling a lot of Mark Hamill's Joker. And after watching this movie, if Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill actually do retire for reals 100% this time, I think the characters are in good hands. And what's really cool is that this movie is PG-13. It's the first time the Ninja Turtles have been in a PG-13 movie, if I'm not mistaken. And there is a lot of violence. In the comic, one of the major plot points is that the Ninja Turtles, when they came to the DC Universe, apparently something about their molecular structure was coming apart and they had to find a way back to their own dimension before something bad happened. In the movie, the main plot is the Foot Clan teaming up with the League of Assassins because Shredder wants access to the Lazarus Pit and Ra's al Ghul wants access to the mutagen so he can destroy Gotham. The animation in this was great too, especially during the fight scenes, particularly anytime Batman and Shredder fought. And there was a really great confrontation between Leonardo and Ra's al Ghul. And I loved how it ended. By the way, is it Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul? Because I've been hearing it both ways in a lot of different Batman things, and I've been told that Ra's al Ghul is the correct way to say it, but for some reason they keep saying Ra's al Ghul, so I don't know. Which is the correct way to say it? I think the interactions between the characters were really good, especially Mikey and Alfred. I love seeing Mikey and Alfred together because Mikey is just rowdy and crazy, basically the same character he was in the 2012 Ninja Turtles, and Alfred was just having none of it, and it was so great. You got to see Donnie and Batgirl do a lot of detective work together, and I thought that was really cool. I'm really glad they didn't give him an infatuation with Batgirl like he had with April in the 2012 Ninja Turtles. As much as I loved that show, that was probably the part I hated the most. There's a really great moment in this movie where they go into Arkham and find a whole bunch of Batman villains, and they all get mutated into different crazy animals, which is actually a scene from the comic, although some of the mutations are a little bit different, and I'm pretty sure there were a lot more characters in that scene. Honestly, I think the only negative things I have to say about this is more about missed opportunities. Like, for example, in the comic, Splinter was with the Turtles, and there was a great scene where him and Batman were sparring together. And I was kind of wondering why they didn't include Splinter in this movie. I feel like they definitely should have. There's also a really great moment in the comic where Batman takes Raphael to Crime Alley, where his parents were killed, and explains to him why he does what he does. And it was probably my favorite moment from the comic. It was a shame they couldn't recreate it. Also, since the League of Assassins was involved, I'm surprised they didn't do anything with Talia. Especially considering the Robin in this movie was Damian. Might have been too much baggage. One last thing is, I wanted to see Killer Croc fight Leatherhead. Yeah, that would have been awesome. Although I feel like with a lot of the stuff I mentioned, maybe the movie would have been a bit too overcrowded. There were still quite a few references and Easter eggs to various other Batman and Ninja Turtles movies, comics, and TV shows. And there was actually one weird Pink Floyd reference. I don't really know what that was all about. Also, the end credits were really cool because they showed a whole bunch of different comic book covers, like famous Batman and Ninja Turtles comic book covers, and they were all altered to fit the movie, and I thought those were really cool. Oh yes, and there's also an after credits scene which could potentially lead to a sequel, and interesting thing to note is that the comic actually had a sequel. I still have mine in shrink wrap because I haven't read it yet, unfortunately. It is on my to-read list, but unfortunately my to-read list seems to grow by the week. I'll try to get around to this as soon as I can. I cannot recommend this movie enough. I mean, just the very existence of it is incredible, but it was just an all-around great movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out. And I really hope this opens up some opportunity for a lot more collaborations and crossovers in the future, because this was done by Warner Brothers and Nickelodeon, so that was really amazing, and maybe we'll see a lot more cool crossovers in the future. And I think there's already a lot of opportunity for it. I already mentioned before that you can play as the Ninja Turtles in the Injustice 2 game, but you know who else you can play as? Hellboy. Yeah, Hellboy's in it. Hellboy taking on the DC universe. I would love to see him cross over with Batman or something. It'd be really cool to see animated Hellboy again because those movies were really good. It'll certainly make up for that last movie that came out. Not too long ago, I heard about a crossover comic between Batman and Judge Dredd. That would be pretty cool. We haven't seen animated Judge Dredd before, and we're probably not going to get another live-action movie, so why not do that? The Justice League in general has done a lot of crossovers. I actually have Justice League and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and I remember this comic being pretty good, so they probably could adapt this, and we haven't seen animated Power Rangers yet either, so I think that'd be pretty cool. There was another crossover comic that I own, but I don't have on hand. I think it's in one of my boxes somewhere. It was actually a crossover between the DC Universe and Masters of the Universe. Yeah, in fact, I did a review of that a long time ago on my second channel, so maybe go check that out. But I think adapting that would be pretty cool. Oh, and, it might be kind of a long shot, but I would also like to see them maybe do Masters of the Universe and Thundercats. This comic is really cool as well. Again, probably a long shot, but I really think that maybe this would go over a lot better than that live-action Masters of the Universe they're doing and Thundercats Roar. But until then, we still have Batman vs. Ninja Turtles, and if you've not seen this movie yet, definitely check it out. It is absolutely worth your time. But that's all I got for Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of it. And what other crazy crossovers would you like to see made into an animated film? My name is Rob, and have a wonderful day.